What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA Podcast, and this is the Undefeated post-weigh-in show brought to you by Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you smash that like button for me. We're taking one last look at these fighters. I will look at every single thing they do. Did they lose their balance getting on and off the stage? Did they bounce with energy? Are they sucked out? Do they look dead in the eyes? That's what we're looking for one last little bit of information before these fighters step into the cage on Saturday, and we'll see if we can find an extra angle to put some extra money in our pockets. Kicking the very first fight of the night off, we've got the big boys. Alan Baudot came in at 246, and he looked good. He looked solid. Really nothing too exciting to report. Rodrigo Nascimento on the other side of this thing came in at 259, so outweighing his opponent by a decent bit there, but he lost a ton of mass. He looked in incredible shape. He's one of these guys, I've talked about it a few times, where you can just start to see the body transforming. He's not quite so fluffy anymore. He's got the flabby love handles that come from, that extra skin from having lost a ton of fat. You can see the muscle underneath him, big flex. I really like what I'm seeing from Rodrigo Nascimento, and I know when I talked on the podcast earlier this week, I said he's untrustworthy. Don't parlay him. Seeing the kind of shape that he's in, seeing the kind of condition he's in, absolutely has me turning around my opinion of that, because it's very clear that he's taking this fight seriously. It's very clear the work that he has put in, and he's transforming himself into a professional mixed martial artist. He's the natural heavyweight of the two. When they faced off, it was good, it was intense, and honestly, these guys size up really well. Alan's actually a little bit taller than Rodrigo, but Rodrigo's in much, much better shape. You could tell that a lot of Alan's size comes from the bulk, the weight that he is carrying around on him. So I kind of expect Rodrigo Nascimento to do the dang thing here. He weighs more, he's in better shape, and that ground game advantage, I think that's a big, big deal. I'm looking very, very hard, very closely at Rodrigo Nascimento by submission. You can get that about even money, and I don't think that's a half bad spot, because that is his weapon of choice, is his ground game. And if he's using speed, if he's going to be the lighter fighter here, if he's able to move better, if he has the better gas tank, even somebody like Alan Baudot, who, moves pretty well around in there and has a decent get-up game, you could see him absolutely being the one tiring out after multiple takedown attempts. Next fight up, we've got Francisco Figueiredo, came in at 125.5, absolutely shredded, but boy, was this guy sucked out. He had his sunglasses on, which you all know I hate, but he took them off because he had to get rid of that extra little bit of poundage so he could make weight. Malcolm Gordon came in at 125.5, and he was the last person on the scales today. Now, I have been looking for any excuse this week to bet on Malcolm Gordon. I know this is the sketchiest proposition you could potentially ever have. The fact that this guy is so awful, he's got no chin. I'm ready to bet on Malcolm Gordon for Saturday, UFC Vegas 31. He's a massive underdog, plus 250, and I am just not sold on this Figueiredo. He is not his championship brother. He is not the guy that everyone thinks that he is. The only issue is Malcolm Gordon's chin. They had an intense face-off, both guys acting super hard, and the size advantage is going to go ever so slightly to Figueiredo, but Malcolm Gordon is definitely the better fighter of the two. If he can get his ground game going, if he can use his speed advantage, all he's got to do is avoid getting hit once by this guy. And Figueiredo is slow. I'm still this close. I know Malcolm Gordon is not a good fighter, but I am this close to pulling the trigger at plus 250 on this underdog, because that line is stupid wide, if not for Malcolm Gordon's chin. And the fact that he came in on point, maybe he was a little bit late, but he made the weight. He absolutely made the weight. He didn't look too bad doing it. Figueiredo looked a bit sucked out. I don't know, guys. Next fight up, Miles Johns taking on Anderson Dos Santos. Both men came in at 135.5. Miles John looking cocky, this guy. Comes in, does the one-arm flex, slowly brings the other arm up, giving this quirk little cocky, confident smile. He's just oozing with confidence, and sometimes that can bite you right in the ass. His opponent, Anderson Dos Santos, was shredded. Absolutely ridiculous shape. He always comes in good shape, but he gave a big smile, a big flex, and he's got the evil, twirly villain mustache. I love that he's got that going. Good, intense face-off. These guys size up really well. You can tell both guys are confident, but Anderson Dos Santos does have a slight size advantage. This is a spot where, honestly, I may be taking a round 3 sprinkle here because Miles Johns is going to be the smaller fighter here in this spot. He's going to have the wrestling advantage, but not the striking advantage, and we have seen Miles Johns slow down when his opponents make him work. So I expect Anderson Dos Santos to need a finish come round 3. I think this is going to be close. I think it's going to be competitive, and we've seen Miles Johns get in trouble deep in fights before. So earlier in the week, I was saying this seemed like a Miles Johns spot. Anderson Dos Santos seems to have taken this very, very seriously. I'm still not betting this from a side perspective. Overall, I will still lean with Miles Johns, but I think I may take a stab at that round 3 with Anderson Dos Santos just because I know he's going to keep coming, and I think he's going to need the finish come round 3 and at like 19-1 or something crazy. Yeah, I'll take that shot. This is on for a reason, folks. This week, this is a sketchy-ass card, and there are so many spots on this card that the numbers are just stupid. I may have sprinkles all over this whole card this week rather than large bets on sides I'm more confident on because the 19-1s, the 22-1s, they're all over this damn card. I'm finding opportunities that I kind of like. Clint Taha taking on Sergey Morozov. Clint came in at 135.5. Morozov came in at 135 on the dot. Clint Taha is a muscle monster. Dude is huge, absolutely stacked up there, but he was sucked out badly. Now, one of the things we look at is how bad of condition these guys are in on the scale. Clint Taha may be one of these guys that rehydrates and blows up come fight night and is totally fine, but his mouth was gaping wide open. You could see his skull through his skin. He was so sucked out, it did not look good to me. Now, Sergey Morozov was stone cold. Absolutely zero motion from this guy. He was very relaxed. He moved well. Of the two on the weigh-in scales, I definitely lean to Morozov. We've got a good face-off here. Taha's got an absolutely huge head. We've talked about how you can't knock this guy out. That's why. He's got a massive noggin. Now, both these guys are extremely confident in themselves. We've got Morozov rocking the hat. They both had their flags on. It's going to be a great fight. This is going to be an excellent fight. I've already got a bet myself on Sergey Morozov, and I'm kind of looking at Sergey Morozov by decision here simply because of the head of Clint Taha. The fact that that guy is impossible to actually put away. But I've got the dog here. I like the dog here, and I think the dog looked better at weigh-ins. So already a bet that I've made, not a true post-fight read, but if I hadn't made that bet yet, I would be making it now. Next fight up, Amanda Lemos taking on Montserrat Ruiz. They called her Montserrat Conejo at the weigh-ins, so I don't know, maybe she got married recently or something like that. Amanda Lemos came in at 115.5, extremely confident, very relaxed. She gave a good flex, looking great. First leg of my parlay here. I loved seeing her come in on points. Montserrat Ruiz came in, and it took painfully long for them to get her weight right for some reason. She came in at 113.5, so very, very light. She gave a big smile. She's always happy. I love the energy that she brings, and of course at the Fayoffs, she wore the bunny outfit. She came in with the bunny ears on, but these two look like they are in different weight classes. Amanda Lemos is huge. She is absolutely massive here. This is a spot where I'm already parlayed on Amanda Lemos. It's my big bet of the night. But what I'm also looking at is taking a sprinkle on Amanda Lemos by submission. She's got a nasty squeeze on her. We know Montserrat Ruiz likes to force the grappling. She goes to that headlock where she gives up her back. That's all going to be a problem for her when she gets into the grappling realm with the bigger, stronger, longer fighter in Amanda Lemos. And on top of that, it's plus 500. I mean, everyone's expecting a knockout, but Montserrat Ruiz has that Mexican warrior spirit. She's got that brick chin. She's not easy to knock out or put away. I can see the club and sub happening here, and at 5-1, that may be a spot I'm interested in putting a little extra cash on. Daniel Rodriguez taking on Preston Parsons. Rodriguez came in at 171, gave a good flex. He was on and off the scale really, really quickly. Besides just pointing that out, I don't have a whole lot to read into there. Some people just don't like being up there. Preston Parsons came in at 169.5, so looking good, and that boy is thick. He is much more powerful looking than I remember him being on the tape. Very well muscled, huge flex. I like what I see. There's a decent size advantage for Rodriguez when they faced off, though. He's still the much bigger man. But Parsons was not backing off. He's here to fight. This guy's a finisher. He's got a 100% submission rate. And honestly, this is a spot where, again, I'm going to look for a crazy line here. Parsons has 2 losses, one by knockout, one by submission. All 9 of his wins are by submission. This guy forces the grappling. He makes you exchange in the grappling. And what people seem to forget is Daniel Rodriguez has a wicked guillotine on him. You can get Rodriguez by submission at 11-1. Everyone is pounding the knockout because we know his fast hands. We know he likes to work with his hands. We know he's got power. We know he's got speed. But everyone's missing out on the fact that this kid puts himself in grappling exchanges. This kid is muscly, so there's a chance he can always gas out. And you've got a guy that can snatch necks and goes for that almost every single fight when he gets in those exchanges. 11-1 for Daniel Rodriguez to jump the gilly. I like it. I like it. I might be pulling the trigger on Rodriguez by submission at 11-1 odds for Saturday. Just a little sprinkle. Just a little taste. Gabriel Benítez came in at 146. Billy Q came in at 145.5. Gabriel Benítez making weight was kind of a big deal after his miss in his last fight. Didn't seem to have any issues, moved well, looked good on the scales. Billy Q came in and he was in the best shape I have ever seen him in. I've been stalking this guy on social media. I can't believe that this line got up to plus 180. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. He was focused. He was sharp. He looks like he added muscle on. This kid is ready to go. Now, he did go ahead and hydrate immediately after the weigh-in. That's something that we look for sometimes, is that panic hydration after having a tough weight cut. This wasn't that. He just picked up his bottle and started drinking after he got done weighing in on the scale. So no issue there. Not concerned with it whatsoever. When they faced off, Billy was literally skipping with excitement. Like, he was jumping up and down before the face-off. Good, intense face-off. These guys size up well. I expect Billy's cardio and the grappling to really be the thing that pushes this fight in our direction. It should be close. It should be hairy. It should be fun. And I'm also looking at Billy Q round 3 because you know Gabriel Benítez has a tough time with this cut. We know that he slows down late, and when you've got a guy that pushes a pace like Billy Q, he tends to break fighters late. I'm also looking at, if I was going to pick a method of victory here, it's either Billy Q by decision or Billy Q by submission. Those are the two that kind of have my interest peaked a little bit. I don't think he's going to knock out Mowgli Benítez. I think his grappling is really going to be the key to his victory here, so submission kind of falls in line with that. A late finish after tiring his opponent out also falls in line with that. Next up, the big one, Rodolfo Vieira taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. We got Stoltzfus coming in at 185.5. Vieira weighed in at 185 on the dot. And Rodolfo Vieira, I have to say it every time, dude is a physical specimen. He is thick. Holy crap, this guy is big. He looked like he just got off the treadmill. He was a little bit red in the face and kind of sweating a bit, but really no concern for me. He got his pants off when he was going to weigh in, and he had a hard time getting it off one leg, so he stayed balanced up on one leg for an extended period of time, and he didn't even waver. So that was one where a lot of times I'll look at guys and be like, they look like they had a really tough cut. They just got back from the sauna, something like that, and they seem a little unstable. He did look like he just got out of the sauna. He did look like he just got off the treadmill, but he was completely intact. He didn't look like he was, unfocused. He didn't look like he was unbalanced. I don't see a problem with what I saw whatsoever. Dustin Stoltzfus came in. He gave a big flex. Dude is a hairy beast. Gotta love it. No issues whatsoever for him. When they faced off, there's a slight height advantage for Stoltzfus. We knew that coming in, but the thickness advantage goes to my boy Rodolfo Vieira. He's just a little bit smaller, but an absolute tank. It's all in the torso. You can see this guy's rib cage is about twice the size of Dustin Stoltzfus' rib cage. He's just massive. Now, it was a respectful face-off. They're both good to go for this one. Rodolfo Vieira closes out my big parlay with Amanda Lemos. I'm not going to lie. The weigh-ins were a little bit of a scare for me. He took a little bit to get on the scales, and I was worried we were going to have a bad cut situation, and I'd be panicking a bit in this spot. There's a lot of smart people out there whose opinions I respect that are taking the shot on Dustin Stoltzfus this weekend. That makes me a little nervous, but I am confident in my play here. I'm the one who is actually fading Rodolfo Vieira in his last fight. We got the big cash on the guy that nobody saw coming. We got the win on the guy that nobody saw submitting the black belt hunter himself, and I think this is a get-right spot. I think this is a spot where Vieira is really going to come out and show everybody who he really is, even though the general public is now officially fading him because they saw him lose the last time out, because they perceive gas tank problems the last time they were out. I think this is a much better matchup, and even though everyone is saying not to, I actually feel pretty comfortable parlaying Rodolfo Vieira here in this spot. Next fight up, Jeremy Stephens taking on Mateusz Gamrot. Stephens came in at 156. Gamrot came in at 155.5. Jeremy Stephens looking thick and healthy up here at 155. It's the first time we've seen him since his last face-off where he did the shove situation. So he looks like he's filling out just fine in the new weight class. Used to fight here before, so not really overly surprising, but he looks healthy. Mateusz Gamrot absolutely shredded. The guy gave some serious crazy eye vibes when he got up there after getting his weight called. Huge flex. He's looking mean. He looks like he's really ready to go. Gamrot has a serious size advantage in this fight, and he was playing a little bit with Jeremy Stephens, something that I don't necessarily suggest. You don't want to poke the bear in this particular situation, but both guys were smiling. Even though they were looking like they had a good time, the intensity in their eyes sold the fact of exactly how ready to go they are for this fight. I'm still looking at this spot. I want to play Mateusz Gamrot. I just don't know if I'm laying the hammer on him, just going, hard on that minus 215, minus 225 that he's sitting out there now. Looks like a little bit of money's coming in on Jeremy Stephens. Maybe we get minus 200 by fight time. But I do think that Mateusz Gamrot is the side, and honestly, I think Jeremy Stephens may be a little bit more durable up at 155. I don't know that Gamrot's got the output that some of Stephens' previous opponents like Calvin Kattar have, and I know that he likes to mix in the grappling. So I think there's a chance that rather than the spectacular finish that we saw last time for Gamrot, maybe we see a more grinding decision. Maybe we see a more calculated Mateusz Gamrot. So kind of leaning Gamrot by decision, but I also wouldn't rule out that knockout because that right hand is always going to be there in this fight. Co-main event slot, Marion Reneau taking on Miesha Tate. Reneau came in at 136. Tate 135 on the dot. Championship weight for the former belt holder. Marion Reneau, amazing shape as always. No issues whatsoever. Big smile, good energy. Still love this chick every time. Miesha Tate comes in and she is feeling herself. She looked huge. She gave an absolutely massive flex. She's in incredible shape. These two size up extremely well. It was a very good face-off. They are nose to nose, eye to eye, like good 1-to-1 solid ratio here for the face-off. This is a spot that I've gone back and forth all week. I mean, I feel like Miesha Tate is going to win this fight, but at the same time, I really don't want to lay minus 150 on her, so I don't want to trust a fighter coming back from a 2016 layoff. Marion Reneau is always in a fight. She always makes it close. She always makes it tight. She's got good hands. She hits hard. She's a black belt. Like, there is a lot of ways that Marion Reneau could pull this upset and spoil the party for Miesha Tate. So I am not betting this one from a side perspective, but what I am actually tempted on, again, C10 foil hat, is the under 2.5. I think there's some opportunities here for either of these women to finish, because if Miesha Tate is really not all she's cracked up to be, coming back off this long layoff, being extremely rusty, maybe not used to the muscle that she's added on, maybe the gas tank isn't quite what she expects it to be, Marion Reneau will very unceremoniously boot her back to the has-beens category by finishing her in this spot. Marion Reneau is tough. She is gritty. She hits hard. She's hurt several of her recent opponents and just hasn't quite been able to get that finish. We've been looking for her to show up and upset somebody via finish for a while now, and it just hasn't quite come together. If Tate isn't what she used to be, there's a very good chance she gets it done here. Now, on the flip side of that, Marion Reneau's got one foot in the grave. She's retiring after this fight. She's already confirmed it, and we know we take advantage of fighters that are hanging it up after a fight. So Miesha Tate comes in here. If she is all she's cracked up to be, if she has added new wrinkles to her game, working with new coaches, new lease on life, in crazy good shape, why can't she take Marion Reneau down and outmuscle her and maybe get that back and get a submission or get a TKO, pound her out of there, because she's the younger by 9 years fighter, physically stronger, more hungry, has a career ahead of her. There's a lot of ways that this fight could go wrong for either woman, and I'm extremely tempted on that under 2.5, and you're getting plus 240, plus 225. I mean, I think it's a pretty solid spot. I'm potentially going to end up there. I might actually pull the trigger on the co-main event under 2.5. I'm not sure if I'll go a full unit on it, because we know both these chicks are tough. We know both these women have a tendency of being durable and staying in fights and forcing it to go the distance. But with all these questions around this fight, I think there's a half-baked opportunity that somebody pulls the upset and gets it done quickly here. Main event time, Islam Makhachev taking on Thiago Moisés. Makhachev was the first one to the scales, making a bit of a statement. Came in at 155.5. Thiago Moisés made 156, and it was business as usual for Islam Makhachev. I mean, he got up there. He looked a little bit sucked out. We expect that. He's big for the division, so we know he makes a tough weight cut. If you go to his Instagram, he's posted some pictures about how hard this particular weight cut was for him, so maybe not perfect for him, which again, we talked about that 5 rounds thing. I'm a little bit suspicious, but he didn't look bad. Thiago Moisés, extremely confident smile. He threw up the old number 1, and he looks like he's betting on himself here. He looked good. This is a good face-off here. Islam obviously has the size advantage. He's a bit tall in this spot, but it was a very friendly face-off. They posed together for a picture right afterward. This is going to be a great fight. I'm super excited for this one. I think the line is really wide. We haven't seen enough from Islam Makhachev for him to have this kind of a line justified, but at the same time, Thiago Moisés is a guy who's been a little inconsistent himself, and he struggled in spots against some lower-level competition, so I can understand why he's the underdog, and I can understand why he's a pretty big underdog here. The only thing for me is those later rounds, because Thiago's the only one who's seen the later rounds, the championship rounds. Islam Makhachev has never been there, and if this weight cut was as tough for Makhachev as he says it is, if he struggles in this fight at all, if Thiago Moisés is able to make him work even just a little bit, there's a chance Moisés flips those tables deep in the fight here. You can get 33-1 on Thiago Moisés in round 5. I mean, just ridiculous numbers for a late finish. And if Islam Makhachev is not Khabib, which, let's be clear, he is not Khabib, if he proves to not have quite that same cut as Khabib, getting late in the championship rounds for the first time could be a problem for this young fighter. I'm a little tempted to sprinkle Thiago Moisés in the 4th and 5th rounds when he's already got a finish on his record in the championship rounds and where he's had 2-3 fights worth of experience going that deep against an opponent who is wrestling heavy, had maybe a tough weight cut, and has never been in deep waters before. I don't think I'm picking a side on this one. I think that the most likely outcome is Islam Makhachev by decision, because I think it's going to take everything he's got to keep Thiago Moisés down. Even though he's talking about coming out here and getting a finish, I don't see Makhachev submitting Thiago Moisés, and I definitely don't see Makhachev knocking out Thiago Moisés. So Makhachev by decision is going to be the most likely outcome here, and the books agree with that. You're getting that at, I think, minus 125 is Islam Makhachev by decision, and the fight just goes to decision is like minus 150. So they're expecting it to go all 5 rounds here. I could just see Thiago Moisés being desperate late in the fight, and if he ever so slightly clips Islam with anything, there's a chance he's live to get that upset and get it done deep. And at 33-1, I don't hate a little sprinkle there. So we'll see what I end up doing. Make sure you keep tabs on my Twitter at Die Hard MMA Pod. Give me a follow. I've kept it very close to the vest this week so far. Not a lot of action besides the big parlay, and I've got 2 dog shots here. But I'm going to add some of these props. I'm going to look for a couple of these little sprinkle spots. There's 11-1s. There's 18, 19-1s. There's that 33-1 I mentioned on Thiago. We might have a couple little sprinkles just for fun over the course of the rest of the card to give us something to cheer for and give us something to look out for, because I think the bookies are missing on how likely some of these outcomes may end up actually being. There's the undefeated post-weigh-in recap for you folks. Do me a favor and hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Thank you very much for the support. Good luck on all your degenerate action tomorrow. Get those tinfoil hats on and let's roll.